Hey all, Tony Bing here. Hello and welcome back to another video for Marvel Strike Force. Now today I will be having a look at the 5 different Brotherhood characters in the game. This is in anticipation of the Magneto event, which is coming really soon. Now what I'll be looking at specifically is the upgrades for abilities that would cost you tier 4 materials. So that would be level 6 to 7 for active skills and level 4 to 5 for passive skills. So I've looked at each of them, I've looked at the different gains, and I've worked out which ones are worth actually using your materials on. So we'll cover each of the 5 characters. I'll let you know how high you want to go with the particular skills, and then once I've done that at the end, I'll summarise all the skills and I'll actually put them in order of my favourites as well, so you can see which ones that you potentially want to prioritise. But the first character we'll look at today will be Juggernaut. So if anyone's actually watched the last video I've done, you'll know that this character now should forever be known as Juggernaut. If you've not watched that video, check it out, it should give you a good laugh hopefully. But for Juggernaut anyway, he does pretty decent in regards to skills you would want to upgrade with your tier 4 materials. The first one that I would say you would want to upgrade would be his basic, so that's Overwhelming Blow. Now at level 7 with this, you attack primary target for 290% damage, you gain 1 charged up to a maximum of 4, and you gain ability energy as well, and the attack cannot be blocked. The difference between level 6 and level 7, that is the reason I feel this is worthwhile upgrading, is that you gain an additional 40% damage, but your chance to gain ability energy goes from 80% all the way up to 100%, and that is exceptionally important on Juggernaut because the faster you build up his turn meter, the faster you can fire off that awesome ultimate which retains its charges. Now the next skill we look at is the special. So with this you gain taunt, defense up for 2 turns, immunity, death proof, and 2 regenerate. If Magneto's an ally, you taunt for 2 turns. So really awesome skill here. Now the only difference between level 6 and 7 is that your regenerate jumps from 1 turn to 2. So this is not worthwhile at all. Do not use your materials on this particular upgrade. The next one we have is the ultimate, which is a great skill called Crushing Charge. With this you attack primary target and adjacent targets for 380% damage, and damage is increased by 80% per charge, so that means it goes all the way up to 700% if you max it out at level 7. However, I wouldn't recommend maxing this one out at level 7 because at level 6 you'll still be doing a whopping 620% damage, which is still really nice there. Final ability here is a passive, and it's got quite a lot in the tooltips, so I'll just read out the parts that are relevant to upgrading it, and they are: if Magneto's an ally, when an enemy attacks this character you fill speed bar by 20%, normally it's only 15% at level 4, and also gain 10% resistance. At level 4 you're only gaining 5% resistance, so with this essentially then you're gaining 5% resistance and an additional 5% speed bar when you're attacked. The reason I would say this is worthwhile upgrading is that because Juggernaut will be taunting for 2 turns, you'll be taking a lot of damage, so that extra 5% most definitely goes further, and also the extra 5% resistance can make it tougher for other characters to strip buffs off them or even apply debuffs as well. So for Juggernaut, that would be the basic and the passive that I would say you want to upgrade. Now the next character will be Magneto. Magneto then, whilst an exceptionally strong character, I'm not massively impressed in the jump with his abilities to max level, but that saves me some tier 4 materials, so I'm not going to complain about that at all. He will still be very powerful even at level 6 for some of his skills. Now the first one we look at is the basic. So with this you attack primary target for 220% damage and 20% piercing, and you chain 1 to 2 additional targets for 190% damage and 20 piercing. Now the difference from level 6 to level 7 is that you attack the primary target for 190% damage and your chain will do 160% damage. That I feel isn't worth the materials at all, so I wouldn't recommend upgrading this one. The next skill he has, that's his special, which is called Polarized Beam, which is a awesome skill. With this you attack primary target for 240% damage and 20 piercing, apply Disrupted, That's a new buff that stops characters from getting buffs placed on themselves, so works great for the likes of Cap. If he tries to taunt and defense up, he will cast the skill, waste it, and it just simply won't apply, so it's awesome. But with this, you apply Disrupted for 2 turns and apply Slow for 2 turns, and you remove all positive effects, and the attack is unavoidable as well. Now this is one that I would say you most definitely want to upgrade, the reason being that it will do an extra 30% damage, which is pretty nice, but you actually strip all positive effects, whereas at level 6 you only strip 2 positive effects, so there's a big difference there, so make sure that you max this one out to level 7. Now the next skill, that's his ultimate, which is Magnetic Vortex. So with this, you pull all enemies up to 2 spaces towards the primary target and attack primary and adjacent targets for 240% damage, and you apply blind as well, and this attack is unavoidable and cannot be counter-attacked. So a really awesome ability here. However, I wouldn't say it's worthwhile upgrading, because the only difference between 6 and 7 is 30% damage. In this skill you're not really taking it for the damage. The damage of course is nice, but you're taking it for that blind and pulling all the characters together. So this one I would just say take up to level 6. Finally we have the passive. This is another one with quite a long tooltip, so I'll just read out the relevant parts here. So at level 7 you gain 50% focus, and Brotherhood allies gain 50% focus, and you gain 15% max health, and also Brotherhood allies gain 15% max health as well. Now the difference between level 6 and level 7 is that you're only gaining 30% focus for yourself in the Brotherhood, and you're only gaining 10% max health for yourself in the Brotherhood as well. This is one that was quite tough, but I would say hold off on this for now. Of course an extra 5% health would be nice, but you may not actually need it with Juggernaut doing all the tanking that he will be doing. In regards to the focus, the main characters that really need focus are Magneto and Pyro, and already really have a really high base stat as well, so I imagine they should do very good at applying their buffs and stripping even without that focus. So this one I would say take up to level 4. Now with Magneto covered, let's check out Mystique. So Mystique's upgrades then, I would say they fall a little bit on the lower side when it comes to maxing out her abilities. She's still got some great abilities, but you're not seeing as much bang for your buck as you do with some other characters. Now we start off with her basic, which is called Mimic Strike. With this you attack primary target for 210% damage, and you bonus attack 1 to 2 times for 160% damage, and you copy 2 positive effects and apply them to self. Also with this, when it's maxed out, if Magneto's an ally, you copy all positive effects. That's exceptionally strong there. I would recommend maxing this one out, because at level 6 you will be losing 20% damage, which doesn't make too much of a difference. However, when you have Magneto as an ally, you actually only copy 3 positive effects as opposed to all of them, so I would say it's worthwhile upgrading this to copy all those effects on certain characters. Let's say you use it against an enemy Juggernaut, imagine all those buffs you will be stealing, it'll be absolutely fantastic. Now the next ability is a special, which is called Infiltrate. So with this you attack primary target for 240% damage, and you attack 3 additional targets that do not have stealth for 170% damage. I won't read out the rest of this tooltip because it's not really relevant to the upgrade. This one I would say it just scrapes in at something that you would want to upgrade, but if the materials are tight, which they actually are most of the time to be honest, you may want to hold off for now. The difference from level 6 to level 7 is you do an additional 30% damage, and you actually target an additional target, so you're only targeting 2 additional targets at level 6, then it jumps up to 3 at level 7. The reason I believe it just scrapes in is that extra 30% damage you'll be doing it to an additional target, and you'll be doing it to the multiple targets as well, including the ones that are stealth. So for that reason I would say this one is just about worth upgrading. Now the next ability we have is the Ultimate Shapeshifter. So you attack primary target for 150% damage, and you trick 1 random enemy to attack the primary target. The tricked enemy gains 200% damage for this attack, and you also gain evade with it as well. Now the difference from level 6 to level 7 really isn't that big at all. You attack primary target for 130% damage, and when you trick the enemy they still do 180% damage, so I would say you don't want to use your tier 4 materials on this particular ability. The final one we'll look at is a passive, so this is Subterfuge. So on spawn you gain evade, you gain 1000% resistance against bleed, and on Magneto's turn you prolong all positive effects on self and Magneto by a duration of 1 up to a maximum of 3. The only difference between level 4 and 5 in this is that on spawn the evade jumps from a 50% chance up to a 100% chance, so I would say this is also another one you don't want to upgrade at all, for the reason being that getting a guaranteed evade on spawn is nice, but you're only getting it once and that's it for the rest of the match. So for that reason, for Mystique I would say you would want to definitely upgrade the basic and possibly the special at a push as well. Now the next character we'll check out is one of my favourite Brotherhood members, it is Pyro. Pyro then starts off a little bit slow when we look at the abilities, but as we go further on he's really got some awesome upgrades. Now the first one we look at is a basic flamethrower, so you attack primary target and adjacent targets for 150% damage and you apply bleed to each target as well. The difference between level 6 and level 7 is 30% damage, and for me it's really about applying the bleed. That's one of the most important things, so I would say save your tier 4 materials and park this one at level 6. We then have the special, and this is the reason really that I'm doing this video, because I love the upgrade so much and I wanted to make people aware of how great it is. So with this it's Pyrotechnics, so you attack primary target and adjacent targets for 180% damage and you apply 2 bleed for a whopping 2 turns, which makes it exceptionally nice if you pair them up with the likes of Scarlet. You'll definitely be extending it then, and you also clear 2 positive effects from each target as well, and if Magneto is an ally you clear all positive effects from each target. Now the difference from level 6 to 7 is 40% damage, but if you're using them with Magneto you'll be pulling all the characters together, so that's an extra 40% splash damage to up to 5 characters I believe with the positioning of them, and also the bleed changes to that 2 turns. You only get 1 turn of bleed, which can be hard to actually extend it depending on your team that you're running with Brotherhood, of course. So this one I would say is most definitely worth upgrading. Now the next one we look at is another great one here. This is Firecrafting. This is his ultimate, so you attack primary target and adjacent targets for 230% damage and you apply Disrupted for 2 turns. If Magneto's an ally, each target has bleed prolonged by an additional 1, so essentially you've got the 2 bleeds on the first turn, and then this one lines up perfectly because it will be giving you bleed for an additional turn, so you're looking at least 3 turns of bleed on characters in a tight area, which is really fantastic. This one I would say it's worth upgrading because the difference is 40% damage once again, and it is a splash damage attack, and Disrupted changes from 1 turn up to 2, and Disrupted is a pretty awesome buff. Now the final one we look at here, this is another tough one and I'm not really sure I had a way to be honest with this one. So it's Stoked Flames, his passive. When this is maxed out you gain 25% extra focus, and when Pyro is attacked you fill the speed bar by 15%. Now this is quite similar to Juggernaut, he gained an additional 5% speed bar when you upgraded his passive. Difference is that Juggernaut is actually pulling a lot of aggro, so we'll be making use of that often. With Pyro you don't really want him to get attacked because he is squishy, so I would say take this to level 4. At level 4 you will lose 5% focus and the 5% speed bar when you are attacked, but I don't feel at this point anyway that it would be worth maxing that out. So the 2 that you would want to max out would be his special and his ultimate. Now let's check out the final character, and that will be Sabretooth. The first ability we look at here then is the basic, and this is a very simple one. This is called Claw Rake. You attack 1 target for 340% damage. At level 6 you attack that target for 300% damage, so it's only a difference of 40% damage, so keep this one at level 6. The special is really pretty awesome. This is called Thrash. With this you attack primary target for 460% damage. If the target has taunt, the ability deals an additional 80% piercing damage, and you attack all adjacent targets for 320% damage as well, and the attack cannot be blocked. Now if you upgrade this to level 7, and this is what I would say it's worthwhile doing with this, you gain the 70% damage, so at level 6 it only does 390% damage to a primary target, and then you gain 40% damage to the adjacent targets as well. So if we take that down to level 6 it means it's only doing the 280 rather than the 320% damage. So this is the one ability that I would say you definitely want to upgrade to all the way to level 7 for him. For the ultimate, this is another really nice one, and this is one I'm a little bit on the fence with, but I think it just makes the cut. This is called Blood Rush. So you attack primary target for 380% damage and you apply bleed for 2 turns, chain to 4 to 5 targets for 330% damage, and you apply bleed to them for 2 turns as well. Now the difference between level 6 and level 7 is that level 6 you're only doing 330% damage to that primary target. You're not chaining as many targets, you're only chaining 3 to 5 as opposed to 4 to 5, and you're losing 30% damage on the adjacent target chain as well, so you're only doing 300% damage there. So I would say this is one that is just about worth upgrading to level 7. Finishing up with the passive now, Feral Healing. The only difference we have with this is on turn you heal for 15% of the character's max health. When the character drops below 50% health you gain Death Proof. At level 4 you will heal for 10% of the character's max health, so that's the only difference, 5% health. Looking at Sabretooth's max health, that only equates to 4,500 per turn. Don't personally feel this is worthwhile, so this is one I'd say you want to take to level 4. Now, with all of the 5 Brotherhood characters covered, let's actually just quickly summarise all the different abilities, and I'll put them in order so you can know my most favourite ones as well. So we have 9 different abilities that I would say are worthwhile maxing out here. Now the order I've placed them in is the one I would say is the most important at the top, and then we work our way down. So essentially I would recommend, and I'm personally going to work my way down this list as I upgrade them. As long as I have the characters I still need to get Sabretooth. So the first one we have is Pyro with his special. You gain the extra 40% damage and the all important 2 turns of bleed. You have Magneto up next with his special, that's an extra 30% damage and you remove all positive effects. Sabretooth with his special, you gain a whopping 70% damage and 40% damage to all adjacent targets. We then have Mystique. With her basic you gain 20% damage, which isn't great, but the important part is copying all those positive effects. Imagine using that. I mentioned it already on Juggernaut. What about Luke Cage as well? That could be really great. Well, then back to Pyro again. His ultimate, you gain 40% damage and you get an extra turn of Disrupted. On to Juggernaut next with his passive. When this is maxed out you gain that additional 5% speed bar when you're hit, and that's very important due to his 2-turn taunt. The 5% resistance is just really the cherry on the cake here. We have Juggernaut again next. We have his basic, so it's 40% additional damage and you gain that 100% chance to gain energy, so that jumps up by 20%. Now, so it goes from a 4 in 5 chance to a 100% chance. Sabretooth up next with his ultimate. It's 50% damage to the primary target. You gain an additional chain and then you're doing an extra 30% damage to every target that you chain to as well. And then the final ability we have I would recommend upgrading would be Mystique with her basic. So that's 30% damage for all the enemies you're attacking and you attack an additional target on that as well. So that is all the ones that I would recommend upgrading myself. Let me know in the comments below what ones you're looking to upgrade and if you agree or disagree with this list, and let me know how you're getting on with farming the Brotherhood as well. With me placing, I think it was 353 in the Pyro Blitz, that means I will be unlocking Magneto day 1, so I'm absolutely pumped for that and I can't wait to get some videos done. But again, thanks for tuning in for this and I'll see you all again soon.